Letter 1 from Samuel Richardson's Pamela. My dear father and mother, I have great trouble and some comfort to acquaint you with. The trouble is that my good lady died of the illness I mentioned to you, and left us all much grieved for the loss of her. For she was a dear good lady, and kind to all us, her servants. Much I feared that as I was taken by her ladyship to wait upon her person, I should be quite destitute again, and forced to return to you and my poor mother, who have done enough to maintain yourselves. And as my lady's goodness had put me to write and cast accounts, and made me a little expert at my needle, and otherwise qualified above my degree, it was not every family that could have found a place that your poor Pamela was fit for. But God, whose graciousness to us we have so often experienced, put it into my good lady's heart on her deathbed, just an hour before she expired, to recommend to my young master all his servants, one by one, and when it came to my turn to be recommended, for I was sobbing and crying at her pillow, she could only say, "My dear son," and so broke off a little, and then recovering, "Remember my poor Pamela." And those were some of her last words. Oh, and my eyes overflow. Don't want to see the papers so blotted. Well, but God's will must be done, and so comes the comfort that I shall not be obliged to return back to be a burden to my dear parents. For my master said, "I will take care of you all, my good maidens. And for you, Pamela," and took me by the hand. Yes, he took my hand before them all. "For my dear mother's sake, I will be a friend to you, and you shall take care of my linen." God bless him, and pray with me, my dear father and mother, for a blessing upon him, for he is giving mourning and a year's wages to all my lady's servants, and I have no wages as yet. My lady, having said she would do for me as I deserved, ordered the housekeeper to give me mourning with the rest, and gave me with his own hand 4 guineas, and some silver, which were in my lady's pocket when she died, and said if I was a good girl, and faithful and diligent, he would be a friend to me, for his mother's sake. And so I send you these 4 guineas for your comfort. I formerly sent you such little matters as arose from my lady's bounty, loath as you was always to take anything from me, but Providence will not let me want. And I have made, in case of sudden occasions, a little reserve, besides the silver now given me, that I may not be obliged to borrow, and look little in the eyes of my fellow servants. And so you may pay some old debt with part, and keep the other part, to comfort you both. If I get more, I am sure it is my duty, and it shall be my care to love and cherish you both, for you have loved and cherished me when I could do nothing for myself. I send them by John, our footman, who goes your way, but he does not know what he carries, because I seal them up in one of those little pill boxes which my lady had, wrapped close in paper, that they may not chink, and be sure don't open it before him. I know, my dear father and mother, I must give you both grief and pleasure, and so I will only say, pray for your Pamela, who will ever be your dutiful daughter. I've been scared out of my senses, for just now, as I was folding up this letter, in my lady's dressing room, in comes my young master. Good sirs, how I was frightened! I went to hide the letter in my bosom, and he, seeing me trembling, said, smiling, "To whom have you been writing, Pamela?" I said in my confusion, "Pray, your honour, forgive me, only to my father and mother." "Well, then, let me see what hand you write." He took it without saying more, and read it quite through, and then gave it me again, and I said, "Pray, your honour, forgive me, yet I know not for what." For he was not undutiful to his parents, and why should he be angry that I was dutiful to mine? And indeed, he was not angry, for he took me by the hand and said, "You are a good girl, to be kind to your aged father and mother. I am not angry with you for writing such innocent matters as these, though you ought to be wary what tales you send out of a family. Be faithful and diligent, and do as you should do, and I like you the better for this." And then he said, "Why, Pamela, you write a pretty hand, and spell very well too. You may look into any of my mother's books to improve yourself, so you take care of them." To be sure, I did nothing but curtsy and cry, and was all in confusion at his goodness. Indeed, he was once thought to be wildish, but now he is the best of gentlemen, I think. But I am making another long letter, so I will only add to it that I shall ever be your dutiful daughter, Pamela Andrews.